My name's Peter Gisella, and I've been an advocate of a National Youth Service program for about 30 years.
Advocate of what?
National Youth Service. And the Corporation for National and Community Service has been in existence for about 18 years. My question for you is not so much technical, but what about the youth that want to sign up for programs like AmeriCorps or the California Conservation Corps? Now, those aren't really considered voluntary programs. They're
Right.
contracted service programs. Is there a way for those youth to search through this to be able to identify those type of activities versus the other types of volunteer service, which is more part-time or temporary?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. So we're working with the Corporation for National Service and AmeriCorps and all those providers. And I think, again, where this originally started was almost a more elastic definition of service. So service may be participating in the food drive in Richmond, or it may be free community night that brings together people in, Vallejo. Or it may be choosing a career or choosing to spend a gap year through an organization like City Year in your local community. Or it may be doing Teach for America, or it may be going to join the Peace Corps.
Senior Corps, AmeriCorps, they're on here.
One of the partners we're fortunate to work with is Network for Good, who's done some really interesting thinking in this regard, and we hope to expand the database, widen the opportunities, and show everyone that no matter who you are, wherever you're stationed in life, no matter what your socioeconomic background, everybody can serve. And hopefully this All for Good will help with that. Is there Steve, right? Was there a question in the back?
So thank you for the great work you did at Salesforce Foundation. We're actually building volunteer management applications that are both corporate-facing and nonprofit-facing. Actually, we're not building it. We're working together with partners to get them built. Both will have publishing and searching capacity that will integrate to All for Good. So it's real exciting that this ecosystem is beginning to develop. And as you get more and more partners engaging with you, what's the sustainability model? How do we know you'll be here next year and the year after?
That's a great question. Let me try to take this and I'll open it up to my colleagues for their thoughts. So one of the things that we've done is we've created, to answer, so Steve writes with the Salesforce Foundation. Salesforce, again, a great example of a company that serves and does amazing work and has great programs for nonprofits. Are any of you nonprofits in this room using Salesforce tools?
Oh, neat.
Great.
Let me ask the question differently. Who in this room is in a nonprofit that's not using Salesforce tools? Raise your hands. Steve, you've got people to talk to. Steve's question is a reasonable one. So what's the long-term plan for sustainability and how will this be viable? We are grateful to have contributions from the folks on the Craigslist side and folks on the Google side who've put in a little bit of capital as well as a lot of labor to make this happen. We've created a nonprofit called Our Good Works. That nonprofit manages, if you will, or owns the IP and the marks and all that. That nonprofit will be the entity that drives this going forward. But make no mistake, much like what you do at the Salesforce Foundation, much like our friends down the road at Mozilla Foundation, or at the Open Social Foundation, or the folks who run the Apache Project, this will only work if people, citizens just like you, believe in it and are willing to make contributions of energy and labor and just frankly love to tell the story and to share the application and the common belief that more people should serve. So we're excited about the opportunity, and hopefully Our Good Works will be a platform to galvanize those people.
Other questions? There's one down here.
I have a question.
What's your name, where you're from?
Amy, and with Icebox Compassion. Is Google going to promote this? Are you going to put it on the homepage and Craigslist? And that's the way to get the word out.
The answer is wait till Monday. So I when they said that they wanted me to speak today, I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I think I can sneak in a few hours of sleep in there. Okay, I'll do this. But yeah, we're preparing for a major push on Monday.
Huge promotion.
Yes.
Yeah, and frankly, one of the things I've learned, having spent now it's a couple of years working on Google's ad networks, is actually that, and with gadgets as well, that actually the biggest promotions aren't the ones you hear about, in fact. It's a funny thing. Little links here and there, and that's why I mentioned about the gadget and putting it on your blogs, telling your webmasters, whoever, put this on your blog, because it's unbelievable. Like the Huffington Post, That's a very high profile one, right? But it turns out, you really want to drive traffic? Stick that all over the place. 100,000 people's Facebook. This is how you actually drive much more success. Because at the end of the day, if no one ever hears of All for Good, but actually more people serve, then that's our mission is accomplished at that point. And that's really the goal here. And in fact, if you look at a lot of the way that Google works in general, it's often very, very quiet kinds of promotion that makes the biggest splash. And you'll see a lot in terms of the splash on Monday, and there'll be in all the newspapers, and I don't know what. It's what happens on Tuesday, and next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that.
That's right.
And it turns out that, in fact, things like taking the gadget and putting it in your blog actually materially matter, and especially when we all do it. And so one of my to-dos, which I need to do, is put on my personal homepage, because I need to do
Yes,
that.
sir, you do.
I just did not have a chance to do it, but I need to do it. And, and it's not bad to put on your iGoogle page in Gmail, but remember, no one else sees that except for you. So yeah, but you can share it with your friends, and that's good. But really, if you control a published page on the web, that is the single best thing you can do. And all of us collectively then drive the traffic through this and onto the listings and onto the providers who gave the listings in the first place. And that's how the success happens.
So related to that, one of the product goals is to ensure that this exists where you exist online, so that you don't necessarily have to come to allforgood.org in order to experience this and find something, but it is with you based on where it's been placed all over the web, and you can continue to keep organically sharing that with your networks and your community. You could take that module, you could embed it into a blog for your nonprofit and write about something that's meaningful, oriented around the impact that you're trying to achieve as a nonprofit. And it can then travel to your community that's reading about what you're interested in as an organization.
Deb, you go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm Deb Jospin. I'm a nonprofit consultant. And I think this is fantastic. Like, I have been struggling to understand what All for Good is, and this is a really wonderful.
Do you understand now?
I understand more than I did about an hour ago. But I think I represent probably a lot of people here who are still struggling to get our arms around it.
Okay.
So let me pose a question to you. This is one of the concerns some people have talked about with All for Good, and that is, let's say I ran a nonprofit that engaged young people. And young people meaning kids, school kids, elementary school kids, middle school kids. And when you say open source, it makes me nervous. So is there a way to...
What does it make you think about?
With working with children.
Right.
Is there a way to control what comes in? Maybe, so I don't understand. So if I have a program, and I'm trying to get my kids in my middle school engaged in service, and so we want to send them to our site.
Right.
And we're going to use All for Good. And one of the things that happens with kids and with children and youth versus adults anyway is that you kind of need to send children and youth off here because they're not going to, they need to be attracted to some other thing anyway. And it's something, so it's two different markets essentially.
Yes. Yep.
But more importantly, parents and administrators may worry, and sponsors may worry about what the kids are seeing. I mean, so that's my worry, and that's my